I can't believe the day has finally arrived that it's going to be the day before we can actually begin our fall practice. It's been a long time coming since we've had the team together out on the baseball field. I think it was March 11th, Bill.
Yeah.
It was the last game against South Alabama. And we literally have not had the entire team together out on the baseball field since that day. Our as most people know, our returning players returned to campus on August 9th. Our new players returned to campus on August 12th. The first time we had the entire team together in one place at one time was August 31st. We actually had a team meeting in section 208 of the stands where we were able to do proper social distancing, and all the players had masks on, and I had them. And that was the first time that we actually had the whole team together. And it was actually the last time that we've had the entire team together. We have a Zoom call that last week. I guess you could say that's having everybody together if you consider what we're doing together right now. But I'm just so looking forward to being on the field tomorrow with everybody out there. We are at 100% strength. We have nobody in quarantine. We have nobody in isolation. It's going to just be a wonderful day to be back out there. It looks like God's going to grace us with a beautiful day tomorrow. The rest of the week's supposed to be beautiful. We're just so excited to be back out there in the field. Tomorrow we're going to have a good full day of fundamentals work. We're a little bit behind, as you might imagine, because we haven't done any team fundamentals yet. We've done a lot of small group individual practices. I can't say enough about Eddie Smith, what he's done with the hitters over the last month, what Alan Dunn has done with the pitchers, and what Nolan Kane has done with the catchers and the outfielders, and aiding Eddie with the hitters. So I think the players are prepared from a sense of doing a bunch of individual practice, but we haven't done anything together as a full squad yet. So we're going to spend the first day working on team fundamentals, and then we'll scrimmage on Thursday for the first time. We have a 7-inning scrimmage scheduled for Thursday. We get to see Jaden Hill toe the slab, pitch 2 innings. He'll be going up against Landon Marceau, who will also throw 2 innings, but we'll have 6 other guys throw as well. And all of our position players, with the exception of Hayden Travinsky, who is out for the fall from knee surgery that he had this summer, and Maurice Hampton, who is, of course, with the football team. So it's exciting time to try to get this team ready to go for the 2021 season, see what we've got. I feel very encouraged with the individual work that I've seen, the bullpens, et cetera. But, of course, we haven't done competition yet. And that competition is the time that separates the men from the boys, and we'll see what happens as we go through it. But anxious to get going. Our last scrimmage of the fall will be on November 6th, but because we lost out on Sunday and Monday of this week, we'll end up practicing on Monday and Tuesday. I think that's the 9th and the 10th, if I'm not mistaken, of November, and that will be the end of fall practice. But we won't scrimmage after November 6th so that we can shut the pitchers down for a few weeks before we start them back on their throwing program to get ready for spring. So with that said, if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
You guys are free to go ahead and unmute yourselves and ask a question whenever you'd like.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned Jaden there. It's been kind of a wild ride for him, missing his freshman year with injury and then this year getting cut short. How excited are you to see him get a season under his belt? And then what are your expectations for him? What are sort of the next steps for him?
Cody, you're always very dubious about putting too much hype on somebody before they've had an opportunity to do it over an extended period of time. Jaden, as you know, pitched twice. He made the rotation as a freshman, pitched twice the first 2 weekends of the season. Then we had to shut him down for the rest of the year. We didn't ever find anything structurally wrong. It just, his arm just never really felt right. Last year, we took it with kit gloves, with white gloves, and just slowly brought him along. And and used him out of the bullpen, and he was absolutely dominating. I don't remember how many innings he actually pitched, but I think he only gave up one hit in about 15 or so innings pitched, and showed just how dominant he could be. This guy is a tremendous athlete. You know, when I talk about the best athletes I've ever coached, I talk about Jeff Samardzija back at Notre Dame. I talk about Chad Jones here at LSU. You could put Jaden Hill in that same category. This guy's 6'4", 225 pounds of just a chiseled body, throws the ball extremely hard. He could, if we had him hit, he probably could hit a bunch of home runs. He was a great high school quarterback that could have played at colleges. And so everybody's just got such great anticipation and waiting to see Jaden actually do it. He's going to get the opportunity to do it. You know, in my heart and my beliefs, I believe he can replace Cole Henry as the Friday night starter for us. What we want to see this fall out of him, not only to pitch well, but to pitch with some length and be able to hold his stuff for a period of time. For an inning or 2 innings, that we've seen Jaden go out there and absolutely dominate. Can he do it for 5 innings? Can he do it for 7 innings? Anyway, so that's the answer, Cody. I think our expectations are extremely high for what Jaden's going to bring to the team. You know, I can visualize him on Friday nights in the SEC going up against guys like Kumar Rocker from Vanderbilt, or Tommy Mace from Florida, or you know, all the great pitchers that we have in our league, and give us a chance to win. I think he's very, very capable of dominating a game as any pitcher, as well as any pitcher in our league.
Hey, Coach. I was just curious if there's any players that may be limited this fall due to injury or anything like that, or are you guys pretty healthy going into this thing?
Everybody except for Hayden Travinsky, Glenn, there's no restriction on anybody. It's really amazing. You know, good things come to those who wait, I guess, to this point now. And, you know, Alex Milazzo has recovered from his arm surgery that he had during the summer. You may or may not have known that he had some arm surgery. He was having some tenderness in his elbow. They ended up doing this, what they refer to as a nerve replacement, where they actually move the nerve in your elbow so it doesn't rub against the bone or whatever. And he's throwing pain-free, and we all know that his throwing ability is one of his major assets. Everybody else that has dealt with things, Giovanni DiGiacomo broke a finger this summer. You know, a few other things. Collier Cranford pulled a hamstring and missed most of the summer. Everybody's at 100% full strength. There's no restrictions as far as anybody goes, with the exception of a couple of pitchers that are a little bit tender right now, and they might be on a little bit different schedule than some of the other guys. But most of the pitchers are ready to go. All the position players are ready to go. Like I said, nobody's in isolation. Nobody's in quarantine. Everybody's been cleared, 100% ready to go.
Paul, you were saying how this is going to be the first time that y'all are going to be together as a team on the field since that March 11th day. Going back to March 11th, I mean, you knew that stuff was happening, but did you have any idea that we were going to end up in this situation?
Well, about the 4th inning of the game, Scott Woodward came down to the dugout through the back tunnel and pulled me down into the tunnel just to tell me that the commissioner of our league had decided that when we went to play at Ole Miss and all the conference games in the league that weekend, there was going to be no fans in the stands. That was kind of shocking to me, you know, and I thought, wow, we're going to play at Ole Miss where we generally play in front of 10,000 people, not going to have to watch the beer showers in right field. It's going to be kind of unique, and I was kind of looking forward to it. And then I was driving home that night, and I heard on the news, on the radio, about the NBA suspending their season. And I took a big gulp, and I said, uh-oh, you know, that doesn't sound good. And then, of course, the next day we were supposed to leave for Ole Miss, and the commissioner decided to put the season on hiatus for 2 weeks, suspend the season for 2 weeks. And then the next day, on Friday, everybody knows the College World Series was canceled, basically the end of the season. So, you know, our worst fears were realized. You know, the season was canceled. We're still dealing with it in a very significant way. And of course, the biggest concern in it for everybody in college athletics is football season. And I think we all know what's happening there with regard to, fan attendance. Some leagues, didn't planned on not playing this fall. Some leagues came back and decided they are going to play this fall. The SEC has stayed the course the whole way, but we had to change the schedule. So how it's going to affect us in the springtime, Wilson, I can't predict. I am personally on an SEC committee to study contingency plans for baseball and softball. Myself and the Tennessee softball coach, along with John Cohen and Ray Tanner, the athletic directors and former baseball coaches at South Carolina and Mississippi State, and Herb Vincent and Byron Hatch and Kevin Trainer, the administrator from Arkansas. We're all on a committee that's been talking every 2 weeks just about possibilities if it gets to that, on how we might have to change our schedule for the spring. But as of right now, nothing's been decided. It's status quo. Everybody has their non-conference schedules in place. We do not have a conference schedule in place at this particular time. But we'll just see what happens as time goes on. But who could have imagined on March 11th that we'd be in this situation? It's just been like a bad dream that everybody hopes that they will wake up from. I saw a bulletin yesterday where worldwide we've hit 1 million deaths because of coronavirus. That's staggering. Over 200,000 people in the United States, and all the people and businesses and everything else that have been affected by this disease. I've not lost perspective, believe me, but I am excited about getting back out on the field and doing what I know what to do, and that's working with young people and working with the staff and see if we can build a championship caliber team again.
Coach, I heard you speak of a chiseled body in your first question, so I thought I would jump on here, that give you a chance to take a look. Tell me about your feelings about DJ LeMahieu and what he's done, winning the batting championship and doing something that hasn't been done in a long, long time, and also the guys from LSU who are in postseason in Major League Baseball.
Well, Lynn, first let me ask you, when you were talking about the chiseled body, were you talking about yourself or my?
Well, I can only speak for myself.
Well, let me tell you, this last week I have been locked in on following DJ game by game. I hate to say I was rooting against other people, but, the kid from the White Sox, Anderson, who's supposed to be a heck of a player and a great guy, he won the batting title last year, and DJ could have been the first player in the history of the game to do it last year. But Anderson ended up having a late surge there and barely had the minimum amount of at-bats. So I just felt it was DJ's turn, and, I was rooting like crazy for him. And then when he had that 4-hit game, the second to last game of the year, you felt like he virtually clinched the batting title. When you think about it and just stop and think about something for 1 second, he did something that has never been done in the history of the game before. Oh, wow. Who can – you can't even think of things that have never been done before, and he did it. He led 2 different leagues in hitting, and not only did he lead those leagues in hitting, in the years that he led the National League and the American League in hitting, he led all of the major leagues in hitting. What a phenomenal player. I had a long talk yesterday with our position players about what makes DJ LeMahieu great and what made him great when he was at LSU. His work ethic, his passion for the game, his wanting to compete against the very best. I remember when he faced Josh Fields from Georgia. I told the players this story yesterday. In the 9th inning, he faced Josh Fields. Georgia was number 1 in the country. They should have won the national championship that year. They were in the driver's seat in the finals against Fresno State and ended up losing. And they had a phenomenal team. And Josh Fields was their closer, throwing 99 miles an hour in the 9th inning against us. And DJ came up and the bases loaded. We were down by 2 runs, and he struck out against Josh Fields on Friday night. And it was disappointing to have lost the game, but to watch the way that this young kid was competing against Fields gave me such hope for the future. And that was Friday night. On Tuesday night, we played at Tulane. This was in 2008. And we were down 4-3 in the 8th inning, and DJ came up with 2 outs and runners on second and third, and he smoked a line drive single over the second baseman's head, vintage LeMahieu hit, to drive in 2 runs to give us the lead. We ended up going on to win the game, and that was game 1 of our 23-game winning streak that turned around the 2008 season. And then, of course, the next year in 2009, when he hit the 2-run double against the Texas Longhorns in the 9th inning with 2 outs and us down by 2 to tie the game. We won in extra innings and then won the national championship 2 nights later. DJ LeMahieu was that kind of player when he played at LSU. He hasn't changed a bit as a major leaguer, and he's so humble. He doesn't want attention. He just goes out and does it. He's underappreciated if that's possible. But I'm just so proud of him and happy for him. I'm so happy for all the other guys, too. Andrew Stevenson, I don't know if you all followed this. The last 2 weeks, he got an opportunity to play every day for the Washington Nationals and absolutely tore it up. Hit 2 home runs against Jacob deGrom in 1 game, this reigning Cy Young Award winner. Ended up hitting about 400 for the last couple of weeks, finished hitting about 360. Hopefully this is going to open the door for him to get a chance to play regularly next year. What can I say about Austin Nola? You know, he was last year. You could have traded him for a broken bat. This year, he was the kingpin of personality in a 7-player trade that probably put the Padres over the hump by giving them a great catcher and a middle of the order hitter. And who deserves it more than Austin Nola? There's never been a better human being that has gone through the LSU baseball program than that young man, and he deserves everything that he gets. You know, and even though Aaron Nola struggled at the very end, he had another great year. And, you know, you're just so proud of those guys for the things that they've done and the way they've represented LSU as they've gone on and done it in professional baseball. I tried to put it into words, Len, but it's hard to put into words just how proud I am of all those guys.
Hey, Coach, if I could jump back in here real quick. You know, you guys have 40 players this year, and we've talked about it in the past, and then just kind of how you're going to manage this team. I think with 23 pitchers and 17 position players, just in the last couple months, how have you gone about maybe restructuring, or just kind of take us inside maybe how, you know, you plan on just kind of organizing this team with so many new players?
You know, Glenn, our roster is posted, and we have 40 guys on our roster. And I think Alabama has their roster posted, and they might have 35. So we're only 5 over the limit. A lot of teams don't have their rosters posted because they've got 50 to 60 players at fall practice. Can you imagine that? So really, we're not in a terrible situation. We're in a really good situation, I think. I'd rather not have too many guys and then have to deal with, you know, not giving anybody a real chance. I'd rather be leaner and count on the guys that we recruited, and let's make this work. I put Brody Drost pitching on hold for a little while, so he's now just a one-way player as a hitter. And I did that simply because he's been swinging the bat so well. I want to give him every opportunity to try to win a very vital role on our team. And I think if he just focuses on hitting and playing the outfield right now, that he's capable of potentially doing that. It's just being on hold. We haven't stopped the idea of him being a two-way player. On the other hand, Will Helmers has kind of emerged swinging the bat a little bit, and so we've allowed him to become a two-way player. And he had a lot of home runs for Jesuit High School the last couple of years. So we just wanted to see what it looked like, and he actually seems to be getting better every day. So right now I think the count is 21 pitchers and 18 position players. No, excuse me, 19 if you include Maurice Hampton, okay? So, we're just going to go out there this fall. We're going to let them play. We're going to see what we've got, and everybody's going to be fighting for a role. Obviously, with the pitching depth has a chance to be really amazing. I've already mentioned to you that I'm hoping that Jaden Hill can become our Friday night starter. You know, Marceau and Labus are quality SEC starting pitchers. I watched Devin Fontenot throw a bullpen the other day. He looked like a major league pitcher. It was the best bullpen I've ever seen him throw. His slider looked so much better. His command was impeccable. He was throwing 94 miles an hour. Mikhail Hilliard looked really good. Aaron George looked good. Beck looked good. So Kaminer looked good. We got a lot of guys back from last year's pitching staff. But yet when you look at some of these young kids that Allen's going to be bringing along, we got a chance to have a really special pitching staff this year. And if we can hold the other team down to a low run game, and it takes a little bit of pressure off of our offense to have to score 10 runs a game to win, I think you're going to see these kids come along. I mentioned Brody Drost has looked really good. Dylan Cruz has looked really good. Trey Morgan is another left-handed hitter out of Brother Martin, who I think has really raised some eyebrows watching him swing the bat. Jordan Thompson looks like he's going to develop into a really good ball player. And this is on top of all the kids that we have back. Zach Arnold is finally healthy, and we've been able to see him work out every day. And he's put on probably 15 pounds of muscle, and he's hitting the ball with some authority. So that's been exciting to see. Cade Doty looks like a seasoned veteran out there, just much more confident. Now that he's been at second base for a full year, I think he's more comfortable at that position. I think he's going to play good defense. I think Cade Beloso is ready to lead our team. I think a real key to our team is going to be Gavin Dugas. Can Gavin be an everyday player that's really going to hit? Because he hits the ball as hard as anybody. And then I think another key to our team is going to be Giovanni DiGiacomo and his consistency with the bat. We know he can run him down in the outfield, and I love his defense. Reminds me a little bit of Andrew Stevenson. But I was telling him yesterday, when Stevenson was a freshman, he played center field, but he only hit 180 at LSU. But we had Bregman at shortstop hitting 390. We had Ray Frimes in left field. We had Mason Katz at first base and Christian Ibarra at third base. I go right down the list. When the next year, when a lot of those guys left, I told Stevenson, you need to carry your weight now offensively. Well, he turned around and hit 360 the next 2 years and became a second-round draft choice, and now he's a big leaguer. This is what Giovanni needs to do. He needs to take his game to another level to be the all-around player that we hope that he can be. I just think, Glenn, in the end, it's going to all work its way out, and the class will rise to the top, and other guys will wait their turn. And when we get ready to play next spring, we'll have it figured out.
Paul, at what positions in your mind right now are there question marks, and where is the fiercest competition, or where there are opportunities and not a clear starter at this point? Where's the fiercest competition?
Well, I think that we got to start with shorts. I thought Collier Cranford did really great things last year when he stepped in and played super over at Minute Maid Park, the 3 games over there in front of big crowds, and showed a lot of poise. Didn't make an error in 40 chances. And towards the end of the 17 games, he started swinging the bat a little bit better. So, I know what Collier can do, but Zach Arnold and Jordan Thompson are going to give him a run for the money at shortstop, because they're really good players too. But if you throw in Will Safford, 2 of those 4 guys have to be our starting left side of the infield. So shortstop and third base is one of the first things we've got to figure out, what's going to be the best combination there. And I mentioned to you about Giovanni in center field. That's going to be another key position. I've been watching Dylan Cruz play center field and just practice, and he handles himself pretty well out there. He doesn't have the burning speed that maybe Giovanni has or some of the other guys have, but he has great instincts. He just looks like a baseball player out there. He looks like a young Michael Trout, running around out there. He's not the fastest guy, but he just knows how to play the game. We can always move him to right field. If Giovanni emerges, that would be great. I mean, if Giovanni plays well enough to be the everyday guy. So we got to figure that out a little bit as well. I think we're going to be pretty set with Doty and Beloso on the right side of the infield. And I think Dugas is going to get a really good chance in left field to be the guy there. So I think you start then talking, and Milazzo is going to be our number 1 catcher. So I think the DH spot is going to be up for grabs. And basically whoever's the best hitter that's not in the starting 8 defensive positions is going to end up being having a pretty good chance to be the DH. I'd like to see Drew Bianco emerge, and in his third year here, especially against left-handed pitching. I'd like to see a good right-handed bat that we can utilize against left-handed pitching, and we'll see what happens with that.
Well, just to make sure you mentioned Maurice out of football, is Nick Storrs still there as well?
Oh, yes, number 85. I think he was on some special teams, if I'm not mistaken. It was hard to kind of follow. Cody, did he?
Played some special teams. Bill, he got some snaps, right? Yeah, he did.
Bill, you're on mute.
Yeah, Nick did officially enter the game on special teams.
Good. I know he left his 4 tickets for the game for 4 of our players who were there rooting him on madly. But obviously a disappointing game for our football team, but they'll bounce back.
Coach, go ahead.
You mentioned Drew Bianco. How has he progressed in your mind, and what are your expectations for him?
Well, Kevin, I think Drew has worked really hard this summer at home. He knows what he needed to work on. And from a hitting standpoint, he has to be able to utilize the opposite field because people could pitch to him. And, when he spins off the ball, the only thing he can hit is the inside corner. And that's why he's susceptible to breaking balls in the dirt, pitches away from him. So it looks like he really worked hard this summer. He's been putting up some pretty impressive batting practices this fall. Now, what will it be like when he gets in there against the pitchers? That will remain to be seen, just like it will for everybody else. But like I said, I'm hoping that he's a third-year guy. He's a great kid. He loves LSU. He's physical. When he hits the ball hard, he hits it as hard as anybody. So I'm hoping that he's going to be able to have a role on our team that would be significant enough to help us win a lot of games.
Coach, do you see anything gaining traction in terms of new regulations, in terms of additional scholarships because of where we are and the uncertainty and the things that have had to be adjusted? Is there anything that you feel like that maybe you'd like to see that's finally gaining a little bit of traction, or at least people are thinking about it more from a national regulation standpoint?
It's a hard question to answer, Lynn, because I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but there's bigger fish to fry right now in college athletics than worrying about how many scholarships the baseball programs are getting. There's programs across the country that are in dire straits financially because of the lost income from football this fall. And, if I was an athletic director, and I'm not, but if I was, my major concern would be how do you keep your athletic departments afloat, and keep your staffs in place and support the programs that you have at the level that they've been supported at. And I'm not just talking about LSU, I'm talking about throughout the country. So I don't think anybody's in the mood to hear anything about increasing scholarships for baseball or increasing coaching staffs for baseball or all the things that we feel that need to be done to grow the game. The major league level is in dire straits right now. Minor leagues are in dire straits right now. I think we just need to take a deep breath and keep it all in perspective right now. And, let's survive this era right now, and then we can think about growing our programs as we go forward. Ultimately, Lynn, I think the only way that scholarships will ever be increased in baseball, or coaching staffs would be increased in baseball, is if somehow we broke away and had a super duper baseball conference where everybody in the country that really wants to try to do it at the very highest level is not being held back by the schools that quite frankly don't care that much about baseball. Half the 300 Division I playing schools don't even offer 11.7 scholarships. So why would they want to see an increase in the scholarships? Many of them don't even have full coaching staff. So why would they want to see coaching staffs expanded? It only creates a bigger gap. And so the only way we're ever going to grow the game the way that it should be grown is if, I don't know what the magic number is, 100, 150 schools break away and say, we're going to play Division 1A baseball, and then let the schools that want to offer a program but aren't serious about developing it to its fullest potential, let them have their own championship that they can play for. But that's for another day.
All right, guys. I know Coach has a meeting coming up, so how about one last question? If anyone has one more question, we'll close after that.
Hey, Coach.
Hey,
I know you
Jared.
mentioned Kay Beloso as being a potential leader this year, but do you expect any more of your players to emerge as the most vocal leaders on your team this fall and going into the spring?
Well, I thought last year 2 freshmen emerged as leaders, Alex Milazzo and Collier Cranford. There's something about those kids from Zachary. You know, they play with a lot of confidence and they have some spunk to them. And I just think the world of Milazzo. You know, if I could build a catcher in the mold of a guy that I would like to see, Alex Milazzo would be that guy. He'll fight you to the death. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys that's just going to do whatever it takes for his team to will his team to victory. And so I think Milazzo is going to continue to emerge now, especially as a sophomore, as an unequivocal leader of our team. I mentioned Beloso already. I wish the Giacomo would, you know, but you have to play really well to be able, you know, to have credibility with the rest of your teammates when you're talking to them about doing things. But I think a lot of the great leadership on our team is in the pitching staff. And, you know, Jared, I mentioned Jared and Landon and AJ. I mentioned Fontenot. Matthew Beck's wearing number 8 this year. Obviously, a lot of people think highly of Matthew and his leadership abilities. So it can't be just 1 or 2 guys, Jared. It's got to be a whole group of people. And I've said this for many, many years, you know, as the leader of the program, the head coach, you can't have effective leadership if you don't have leadership among the ranks. And your players, it's a player's game. It's their team, and I try to encourage them to just emerge themselves, you know, and initiate things themselves. And I don't want them to be shy. I don't want them to be passive. I don't want them to take a back seat. I want them to speak up, and I want them to feel confident enough in themselves to become leaders. And I think this will continue to happen throughout the year.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach Mainieri.
I got to go have lunch with a left-handed pitcher by the name of Jared Poche. You may remember him. I think he's the all-time wins leader. So Jared and I are going to go see each other for the first time in a long time here in a couple minutes.